All right, Shawn, what's going on today, dude?
Are we good?
I don't know.
Good to go?
It's your podcast.
Okay. Yeah. But, all right, guys, welcome to the Growth by Shawn podcast. So I'm here with Brandon and Walie. How'd you get the nickname? Let's start there.
It's a good start. I didn't really like the pronouns, so I just wanted to just choose a different name. No, the actual story is for a long time, I had always wanted to do like stand up, and I was really a big fan of so many like different podcasts, and I was always like, I want to start one. I want to start one. Mm-hmm. After the pandemic, I bought like a gaming PC because my friend gave me a great suggestion, and I started playing, and I had a software on it that would like automatically clip like little 10 seconds of like my gameplay. So I started posting those on Instagram, and my gamer tag was Rundown Walrus. Everyone was calling me, like, I just chose the name Walie because, when you're in a game or a lobby and you're like, he's Rundown Walrus. It was way easier to just call me Walie, and
gotcha.
It was a quick little thing. So it's a play on walrus. That's why there's so many like little like walrus things laying around.
Yeah.
So that's where I got it from, and I started the reason I was talking about the gaming is like I started as an Instagram content, like I just wanted to do like Call of Duty clips, like one a day, and that's kind of how I got in touch with Jared and this other guy that I was kind of working on a couple podcasts with, but then as I like experienced that, I was like I don't really care about the video game anymore. Like I have fun when I play, but I like to do that type of content is whatever, like, not my grind. Like, I don't have a passion for this. But then as I'm transitioning, I'm, working as a teacher, and I needed some type of alias. Mm-hmm. And it's, kind of paying homage to that story of, like, Rundown Walrus is kind of, like, what gave me that opportunity to finally, like, pursue this content creating,
gotcha.
like journey. So.
Your stage name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
But no last name, like Madonna.
Yeah. Well, like, thank you for having me in the studio.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it's a sweet setup. I enjoyed being here the first time, so I'm glad that my show, everyone watching on YouTube, gets to experience this first off. So when you like think about your podcast, what's the ultimate goal behind it now? Like, what do you actually want it to be, and why do you want it to be what you want it to be?
With the podcast, I don't want to put any limitation on it. I don't want it to be anything. I always get excited as it becomes different things. I mean, obviously it's grown in so many ways, especially like now being on YouTube, I've seen such a like different level. It's really just been my guinea pig because I talk about like when I first started, I used to even have a segment I called the Blueprint segment, and it was all about like, here's the journey of someone creating a podcast. So here's all the things it takes. Like, and I would talk a lot about just like, you just have to go down to the studio. No one cares about your dream like you. Mm-hmm. No one gives a crap if this thing doesn't blow up or grow or turn into something. But if you do, you have to keep doing it. So you can't rely on all these people like, I can't do a podcast today because I don't have a guest. Or I can't do like my co-host is busy and now I don't have something to go out on Sunday. So my whole mission is to like take on this burden of, all those like cliche quotes, like the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours.
Okay.
I was like, my goal is to just try to prove them wrong. Mm-hmm. And in the process, I anticipate, if they are true cliches, like then this will become something, this career will become something. This podcast will become something if I just keep doing it. If I just keep putting in the reps, It's going to, there's early days going to suck a lot, but I'm going to learn and it's going to get better in all the different ways. And as I was doing that, that's when I started to realize like, this podcast, my Ever-Changing Vibe itself is like my little guinea pig where I'm practicing podcast editing, I'm practicing hosting, I'm practicing, networking with guests and how to get it on social media, how to make thumbnails, how to, get better with like Canva and all this. Mm-hmm. And now I'm taking those same like, tools and applying them. So I had Eli's come down to the studio a couple times, rented it out. and I got to like work as the producer for a bunch of his episodes. And like, that's just another way that I can just be involved in podcasting. I'm obsessed. But I've also like took it so that, I've even been working on some other different styles of content. And like, that's I'm working on a project right now that it should be coming out in October. I don't know when this episode airs, but, by October, I'll have some new stuff on my channel that I've been working on for a while. And that's the stuff that like I want to grow. I want to make sure I do it right. I post it out, and like I want to become, you know, more of that, but always have this ever-changing vibe in the background, because, you know, I can experience new things. I can try different styles, different sets, different, you know, combinations of a guest to a solo to a, like, what do I call them? Like a ensemble, like when I have like 4 people on, and, I don't know. I just love that. That's just like my outlet. Like I just knew I'm obsessed with podcasts. So just doing the podcast is the only thing that is going to remain the same. Like, like every Sunday I'll have a podcast out.
So it doesn't matter like what the metrics are, or if it ever blows up, anything like that.
No. And I've said this for a while, and I've kind of had the mindset, where I don't need the Ever-Changing Vibe podcast to be, you know, my biggest success. Like, for an example, Barstool Sports picks up podcasts all the time. If they signed me or hired me, but they were like, all right, you're Ever-Changing Vibe. We don't want you to do Ever-Changing Vibe. We want you to be a co-host on this new podcast that Barstool is putting out. I would be 100% okay with like going full throttle into this new podcast and letting Ever-Changing Vibe kind of like, you know, maybe I would keep doing it, you know, on the side, just like my little, like the same way I like to journal all the time. So like I would keep putting it out, but it wouldn't be, you know, I wouldn't need it to be the one that like everybody knows Walie because of Ever-Changing Vibe. It's really just there as my, I don't know. I'm very nostalgic too. So I have a very like this deep sentiment towards ECV and the acronym and all the like the artwork and stuff, because it's all of this journey. I have, you know, even some of the stuff like, you know, when I've paid people to produce, I've produced it first. Like I learned how to produce a podcast. I learned how to edit a podcast. I learned how to do all the different things around a podcast because of this. So I don't know. I just have so much sentiment and respect for like what it's allowed me to create and the journey that I've been able to be on because of it. So
it's really just for the love of it. That's more or less what I'm getting at.
For ECV is what it is right now.
Okay.
But and I want to be like fair. I'm not in like 10 years if Ever-Changing Vibe is like on the charts with Rogan and Call Her Daddy and whatever. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, no, I just do it for fun. Like like I would like that would be the best case scenario, is that like this podcast is the podcast that like people are dying to get on as a guest. People want to collab with me on this podcast. Like, yes, that's my dream. I would love for all that. But I am okay at the end of the day if this doesn't go anywhere. But this is my portal to getting connected to the people or the things that I don't know about yet, that will, you know, create the career. But I don't know what my career is supposed to be. I'm just set out for that. Mostly the Malcolm Gladwell, like 10,000 hours, or like even like the Nike slogan, like just do it. Like, well, how, like you hear these, like, how did you, you know, if you ask Rogan, how did you, you know, make this podcast the biggest podcast in the world? I was like, I don't know. I just started doing a podcast. I just kept doing a podcast and people liked it. Like I think a lot of it's going to happen by accident. But when it happens by accident, like that sentimental like connection I have to it is going to allow me to make the right decision moving forward with it.
Gotcha. So how much time are you dedicating to the podcast every single week?
That's something that like I can only speak on now. I mean, I've been doing it for 2.5 years or so. And when I was starting this, I started in like April, but it launched at the end of May. And then I'm a teacher, so I had the whole summer, and I was coming down to the studio 4 days a week for like 12 to 14 hours, just like cranking out time, just sitting in the studio, a lot of time wasted. Now I've like learned how to actually utilize my time if I'm coming down to the studio, or just learning the times, like I don't need to go down to the studio to sit here and do nothing. So I know my time when I need to work. So now I'm actually like effective with all of my hours. And I would say I usually, because the podcast tends to be about an hour, sometimes they're a little longer. So I usually mentally kind of like check off, it's like 3 hours of a recording session, three to 4 hours to record. And then it usually takes me about 3 to 4 hours to edit, like a 1 hour.
Yep.
And then probably another hour and a half to do all the like Canva stuff, all the like Instagram, the thumbnail posts, all that stuff. So probably in total about 12 hours per episode, if you want to put it that way, which is once a week.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing it once a week? The 2 years consistently?
Yeah. So that's how I have an OCD, or some level of OCD, where I get very obsessive over things, but my mind's also tends to be very binary, where it's like I'm either on or I'm off. It is either is or it isn't. I've been trying, especially since our first conversation, trying to like be better and more aware of when my brain is doing that, and allowing like a little more leeway on certain things, so I don't, spiral. Like you gave the example about the brushing your teeth. Like you forgot to brush your teeth once, but you don't never brush your teeth again.
Yeah.
So like when I started, the way I like tricked my brain, instead of using OCD as this like kryptonite or like my weakness, I was like, nah, this is the perfect tool, because I'm gonna obsess over it. I'm gonna think the worst thoughts are gonna happen if I don't put out an episode every Sunday. So I just told myself, from the day you launch this, you're not skipping a week, because when you skip a week, you told yourself you're allowed to skip a week.
Yeah.
So I've never skipped a week since it launched May 30th, 2021. I've even done, at one point, I think it was like that first August, I was just doing way more in the studio. So I did like 2 episodes a week for August. So sometimes I was doing more, and then I realized like, oh, that's too crazy to try to maintain, especially once the school year starts.
Yeah.
So then my like, what I kind of reverse it to is like, sometimes I would still have a lot of like extra podcasts like recorded, but it didn't really fit in the weekly podcast spot. So I came up with like a bonus podcast that was like on the same channel. I called it Extra Changing Vibes. So anytime I had a bonus episode, I put an Extra Changing Vibe out. So, yeah. You were still only asking about how long it takes me.
Yeah, 12 hours. So since the last time we spoke, you told me just a lot of like the different changes that you've already gone through, just like even habit and routine wise and things like that. Like expand on that a little bit, and what started to change for you, and why you think some things have started to change just since the last time that we chatted.
Sure. Yeah. So, when we chatted, I even came to that conversation, stating like, I'm very self-analytical. I pay a lot of attention, and I always like have these revelations like, all right, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm not doing that. Oh, how do I, do something better? So that's when I started implementing like the daily journals, and then the daily walks, and like adding things into my, like, just like I call it my daily regimen. And they've all, like, a lot of them, like the journals has been about 1.5 years. The daily walks have only been like almost a year now. And some of the other things I just started over the summer. But I'm doing all these things, and I feel most of the time it's having a better effect on my life. But something that we had talked about, and I can't think of the exact moment or the thing that was discussed. I think it was just talking about like how words are spells, and like it's how they influence people. And then I started to think about it, and it allowed me to like connect a dot in this whole thing, where now I put a purpose behind why am I journaling today. And I think like in terms of the journal, it allowed me to, because even in my own personal journal that no one's reading, I was writing vague. I was putting like innuendos or just like, I'm feeling weird about blah, blah, blah. When like in reality, it's like, I'm feeling like I'm about to go through a little like depression, zone. And I'm just like, I just woke up tired. So like, since then I've been, a little more specific. Like I am feeling like this and it's probably because of this. And I like try to like point out to myself exactly what I have going on. And I started doing that same concept with the walks. It's like, I know these walks are good for me. And I started the walks not for exercise. It was literally the mental battle of like, you have to do something every single day. You can't have an excuse of your knee hurts because I'm just you just have to walk up the street and back, but you have to do it with intention. So, if it's raining, that's not an excuse. You can walk in the rain, you can dry up and like all those things. So but I kind of forgot about the doing it with intention until our conversation. I started thinking about, I'm like, wait, I'm doing this with intention. What is my intention then? And I just go on my walks, and now I really think about it on my walks. Like, what is what is each walk in and of itself bringing value to me? And how are they as a collective, as I do them consecutively, how is that bringing it? So I just like am actually, and I don't have the answers just yet for a lot of them, but I've finally started to go, okay, what is the actual purpose and intention? And I want to bring up this. I feel like I have to pull up the actual Instagram post that you had put up. Listening to you talk about it, it's probably the easiest way. I don't know how you want to share this, but the caption, I'm just going to read. You list meditation, ice baths, 5K steps, journaling, fasting. There are many practices that are beneficial. These are some of them. But imagine trying to add all of them in at once. Overwhelming, right? In a world of information, we are all searching for answers. And I just started to really think about that, especially with, okay, I know I'm doing so much better for myself because I'm journaling, because I'm going on my walks. But am I actually doing better? Or did I tell myself that's going to be better? But what's the purpose of this? Like, yes, the walks are not for exercise, but could this teach me the importance of exercise? So I can still do my daily walks, but maybe I need to start thinking about a way to implement more of an exercise routine into my daily, regimen. Maybe I have to think about going back to the gym, or maybe these walks turn to runs. Like it's good that I do them daily, and I've built up that routine in the regimen. So I know I can set aside 30 minutes every single day for that walk. But what's the purpose if I like shot up like this and I had all this success going right up to start, but now for like 5 years, I'm just going to do 30-minute walks. Yeah. I have to, like, now that I've thought about it with more intention, I'm like, well, the whole point is to better myself. So I've got this 30-minute thing down. What's my next step? Is it running? Or is it going on longer walks? Or is it finding, 3 days a week doing a gym exercise, like lifting weights or doing something additional? Like, does it have to change the walk, or can I find another pocket of my day to add a new routine to the regimen?
Okay. Let me start to challenge and just let's explore this even a little bit more. So if you didn't do your walk, for a day, how are you going to feel?
I literally can't tell you. Just like with the podcast and the OCD, this is, I learned how to use my weakness, as I say, like I learned how to use that as such a tool. So that's why I started with the journaling. I was using that a lot as like a tool. Like, you have to do this every day. So then when I started adding the walks in, I would track it. Walk number 1, walk number 2, walk number 3 at the top of each entry. So the OCD, so what I imagine is how other things that I break of my OCDs, like from when I was a kid to now, is like the moment I wake up the next morning and go, fuck, I forgot to walk. does someone in my life have cancer? Do I have cancer? Am I going to die? I don't even feel comfortable driving to work. I feel like I'm going to get in an accident. Like, I just, like, I don't know if you have OCD or you know people with OCD. Like, it's just
not
like.
Really, to an extent, I think. I think everyone's diagnosed themselves in some way, not taking anything away from what you're saying. But I don't know anyone specifically that has like just explained how their brain works in that way to me to like go and have an opinion or anything like that on it.
And to be fair, I'm not clinically diagnosed. It is self-diagnosis, but it's what I feel. So like literally one of my OCDs like as a kid that I still have is if I wear any type of pant that has belt loops, I have to wear a belt.
Okay. Twice,
and once was like freshman year of high school. I was in a car like after school where me and my friends were driving to like Walmart to go do something, and we got in an accident and I wasn't wearing my belt, and it just like refueled that whole OCD. I thought it was over. I thought I conquered it. And then a couple years later, I like left my belt at after a sleepover at the house, and then I got home that day. And I think it was like the day that like my girlfriend broke up with me or something like that. So now I'm like, it happened again. So now anytime I don't wear a belt, I like start to freak out. So I started putting like a belt in my trunk. I leave a belt at the studio. I have like plenty of belts at my house. I'm like, because I'm so scared, like your brain just starts to like spiral in this weird way where it's like, do something extreme. It's irrational often because that belt, me not wearing that belt has nothing to do with the cars on the road later that day if I got in an accident or didn't.
Yeah.
So, but it's something that I can't control. Like I tell myself that it's like, this is just your OCD. This is just you're irrational. This is not, if it happens, it has no correlation, but like it doesn't matter. The anxiety like spike is happening regardless.
When did you first start to have these thoughts of telling yourself that you have OCD or noticing it?
Before I knew what OCD was, like when I was still in school and OCD was the kids who have to put the pencil at the top and keep everything neat.
Yeah.
It was like, not every girl has OCD. They're just more neat than us. They're more organized.
Yeah.
But I did recognize that like I had this irrational fear of something. I think the first time I really can like date back would be like 5th grade. It was Christmas vacation. It was the end. It was like New Year's Day. And I forgot another one. If I saw a digital clock at 9:11, I had to do like 10 minutes of prayers.
Okay.
Okay.
This
is not. I don't have your normal thought, but this is my 5th grade brain.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me because I still do it. But yeah, I just had to like, and then that night I remember like on New Year's Day, like, because I didn't New Year's Eve. I saw it at New Year's Eve, but we're at a party and my parents are finally letting me stay up to midnight and all that. So like, I didn't have time. Then I went to bed and just fell asleep or whatever. And I woke up that next day. I had dread that entire day. I couldn't get out of my headspace. Little 5th grade me, like my parents wanted to play like Risk. That they bought us the board game for Christmas. Everyone's all excited, having fun, learning how to play the game. And the whole time I'm like, I gotta go upstairs and pray tonight. Like I just like I'm freaking out. Am I even gonna be alive tomorrow? Am I gonna go back to school? Like, and I had recently seen there was the Mayan calendar said the world's ending in 2012. So all I'm thinking about is death in 2012. And so that's what happens now. Like if I don't have a podcast ready for Sunday or if I skipped a walk, like that's what's going on in my brain.
Okay. This is interesting to me. Okay. Because this is really interesting to me because here's what I want to even explore more. There's nothing wrong. Like, walks, meditation, like in everything that I said in that book. It's all good for you. They're things that can help you grow in different ways. But what happens when they have a chokehold on us in a sense? Like if I was to go and sit through a seminar. It's 12 hours long, blah, 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 blah. Do I need to go and walk for 2 hours to make sure I hit my 10,000 steps after that? Or is it more beneficial for me just to go and sleep? Does the chokehold of me attaching a meaning to that walk, how deep is that? And that's what I want to explore here. So with the belt, okay, with the 9/11 on the clock, everything that those 3 examples with the car accident and the girlfriend break up with you and the 9/11 on the clock, you've attached a negative meaning to every single one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, like, do you think it would be different if you didn't attach a negative meaning to each of those? Or is that just the way that your brain works in a sense? And I'm adding quotations, but like nothing to take away from how your brain actually works because it's different.
I don't know how it works.
Everyone, I don't know how my brain works either, you know? But
I came on the podcast so we can figure this out, though.
But yeah, do you think that your OCD, in a sense, would be different if you defined a different meaning to those acts that you're doing?
I'm not saying no, but I don't think it's a yes.
Yep.
I don't think it would change if I applied a different meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't trade anything in the world to like erase that part of my mind.
Yeah.
That like the 9/11, the belt, the stuff that like really was a weakness. Like that's when I tapped into like, all right, there's something that my brain is doing that most people's brains don't do to them.
Yeah.
And I would never take that away because of how I've been able to wield it as my weapon against my inner demons with the walking. Like, that's why I made it so intentional that I am going to use that. Like, that I am applying a positive spin on the walks.
Yeah.
So, and you give the example, like, if you're in a seminar all day and then you didn't get your walk, I think most people could go and just, well, I'll get I'll do 20,000 tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the reason why I implemented it as the OCD thing is another benefit that came across that I don't know if I kind of thought it might happen, but I didn't necessarily like, this is the reason why I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. It helps me learn to create boundaries for myself to myself.
Okay.
So like the journals every single day, because anyone can, I can give you an excuse like, oh, I'm going to be 5 minutes late because I got to finish my journal before we can go do that. Yeah. Like, it helped me get better at, like, upholding my boundaries to others, of course, in that way, but also with myself, saying that, it like when you hit the alarm in the morning, snooze, 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 I've used it to train myself that if you have a goal, if you have a boundary for yourself, you're not allowed to cross this boundary. Mm-hmm. So you have to, I don't care what your day consists of, 12-hour seminar, you get at least there's a half an hour to an hour break. Yeah. Go do your walk. Yeah. So an example, this happened over the summer. I went to Florida. Mm-hmm. We went for like a week. We stayed with my girlfriend's grandparents. And one of the days we rented a car, went up to Orlando, spent a day in Disney. Yep. Well, they lived like an hour and a half away. So we had to get up at like 5 a.m., leave by 6, got to the park right at opening, and then we got home at like 11:30 that night after like driving and walking around, being in Disney all day long. Mm-hmm. So before going into it, I was like, when will I have time? Like, I knew it was going to be early morning and late night. Yeah. When am I going to have time? So what I did, I brought my journal just in case. I was like, hey, maybe I'll have time to walk out to the parking lot and just do a quick journal at lunch. I didn't have time. I ended up doing the journal when I got home, and I was like, all I wanted to do was lay down and fall asleep. But I was like, no, you got to do your journal still. Mm-hmm. The walk, I kept saying to my girlfriend, I was like, hey, I need to get this walk because I can't do a walk at midnight in your grandparents' like Florida, like whatever whatever their neighborhood or whatever is. I'm like, I don't know that land well enough. I don't know about crocodiles, alligators. Yeah. I'm not taking the chance. So when can I have time? And I had to like find a time, and all morning I was like thinking about it. And my girlfriend's like scheduling like rides, like getting the fast passes for this ride at this time and this ride. I'm like, oh no. And then at one point I was like, hey babe, before it gets too late, I'm just going to go on a walk, and I'm just going to go around the park. Yeah. Just walk by myself. That's my other rule with my walks is like, it's always got to be by myself, and I can't be on my phone, look at my phone, text, listen to podcasts. It's literally just my thoughts. So I told her, and she's like, oh yeah. And then we happened to be walking by. They were doing like a kind of like Frozen live action play. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I wouldn't see it with you, but why don't you go watch it? I'll take this time to go on my, because she loves like Elsa and all that. Okay. So she's like, all right, I'll go in there. It was the perfect. I actually got like 33 minutes just walking around the park. Mm-hmm. We met up right there. So then I got my walk in. Like, my thing is like, I don't want to give myself excuses. I need to give myself boundaries. I need to treat myself how, like, with the type of advice that I would give to someone else. Like, if my girlfriend was like, it's really important that I get my walk in today, we would be in Disney the whole time, and I'd be like, all right, do you want to go on your walk now? Like, I would be considerate of, like, what time do you want to do? Like, when is this going to work for you? Because, like, that's powerful, like, if you are dead set on doing something. Yeah. So I want to start kind of, like, treating my brain like that. Like, I want to treat myself how I would treat the people that I care about. So I make especially when it's 30 minutes, like, you can find 30 minutes of your day to go walk around and just, and you don't have to walk. Like I said, I do it for meditation. Yeah. With my ADHD, the movement helps a lot with that. So, but if you want to just sit on a couch, no phone, no podcast, no YouTube, just sit on a couch and just think for 30 minutes. Yeah. It's not easy, but the more times you do it, the better you get at it. So it's just like, I just set these boundaries for myself. Yeah. And I used my negative OCD experiences to build up the man that I like want to be, like the person who like has boundaries, has like when they want to do something, they're going to do it. Yeah. Like I don't want to just start like, oh, I'll break the rule for Shawn because I'm going to do the podcast with him today, so I don't have to do my walk today. Like, no, every single time I just have to find it. Like, that's my number one priority, where now I wake up in the morning and it's not even like, oh, am I going to have time? It's like, where do I fit this into my schedule? Am I going to be able to do it at work on my lunch, or do I have to do it like today? I couldn't do it at work because it was raining all day. Yep. So I'm not going to go get all wet and then try to teach for 4 hours. So I was like, all right, I have to do it when I get home. Well, that made me have to push back the time that we recorded today, because now I have to do it at home. I'm soaked, so I have to go shower, and I'm like exhausted from the weekend, so I'm like, I still need a nap. Like, but I didn't go, oh no, I don't think I'm gonna have time. I was like, this is when you have time. You're gonna make it happen.
Interesting, because I'm trying to bridge this gap right now, where in my mind I've had, like, one of the biggest things that I'm just looking to explore right now is these rituals that we have. Okay, these rituals that become a part of us, and for you, for example, it's that this creation of boundaries that you're having for yourself is a way to keep promises to yourself, which is important. It builds self-respect. It builds confidence. It builds character. It builds who you are. And so I'm trying to just look at these two perspectives right now of, okay, can I go and, it's important that you get your walk in, that you do your journaling, and that's like section A over here of this perspective is I need to make time and do these things. But where is the line? And I don't think one or the other is right or wrong. And this is what I'm just like exploring right now. This is what's interesting me the most. And I'll tell you like a small story of how I started to think about this, because this walk and this journaling is perspective A. And we have to do it like every day for the rest of our lives, like blah, 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 blah. But perspective B, what if there's 365 days in the year? Is it okay to take one day off? Is it okay that this isn't a part of me? It's something that I do consistently. And when I look at 10 years, I can just meet in the middle somewhere where I have all of this compound interest, where I've done my walk 360 days. instead of 365?
I
Or does it matter? Like, is the gap between 360 and 365 big enough or small enough to even start to have a conversation about it? That's what I'm trying to like find the answer to.
I have an answer.
Okay.
So the walks, let's start there.
Yeah.
That just started, and I just started tracking it, and then I came up on the 1 year of doing my journaling, my daily journals for the first time. So I restarted the progress.
Okay.
So, and when I restarted it, my little mini goal is to write W365. So it's not a forever routine.
Okay.
It is at least 360. Like, I want to be able to say I did a 30-minute walk every day for an entire year.
Okay.
No skips. Like, so that's just like a little, pat on my back. That's what I'm going for. At the end of the 365, I'll reassess it and say, do I really value this? Where does it stand? How do I want to add to it, or do I want to give myself a little more leniency? With the journal, I had happened to kind of go down a little bit of I would say it was like the last time I felt myself hit a rock bottom. I woke up one day. It was like the end of April. It was after April vacation. I just kind of was trying to do too much with the podcast in the short time I had off. And then that was causing me to be really anxious, overwhelmed, and stressed. So then I was drinking a little more than I usually do on the weekend or during that week. And just a lot was just not going in the direction that I needed my life to be on. So I was like, what can I do that I haven't tried yet? And I've had a journal before, but it was when something comes into mind, I write it down, or sometimes I would use it as my podcast notes journal. Yeah. So I just kind of decided, I was like, all right, on May 1st, and that's also my OCD, is I have to start on the start of the month. I can't, if I start on May 3rd, I wouldn't be doing it. So I was like, on May 1st, I give myself 3 days to figure it out. On May 1st, I'm starting my journal. Yep. I'm journaling every single day. That happened to be on a Monday. The first Saturday, so not even a week into it, I was proud of myself for doing all the journals. I went out with friends on Friday, got up late on Saturday, just did my thing, and then went out, and then woke up Sunday morning. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to do my Saturday entry. And I was really mad at myself for not doing my Saturday entry. But my brain started to do the binary thing. It was like, all right, I guess we're not doing this anymore. And I was like, no, you just hit what you felt like was a rock bottom. You have to figure out some solution to this. So from that point on, I just said, I was like, all right, Saturdays are optional. Yeah. Okay. And that allowed me to get so deep. I finished the whole journal, and then it was August or something, and I bought another journal, and I started again in August. And because I was skipping the Saturdays, I could get through the week and be like, well, at least tomorrow, the days are a Thursday, I don't want to do an entry. Literally my entry is I just want to be done. I don't want to be doing this right now. I just need to fill out this page line by line, just write whatever words you're thinking about. Because tomorrow is Saturday, or in a couple days is Saturday, and then you don't have to do it on Saturday. You can just. So the optional Saturdays got me through so much, and it was kind of like what you're saying, I gave myself a little bit of leniency to allow myself to build up this routine and regimen. And then just I think it was last March, I just happened to be, I did 2 Saturdays in a row, and I was like, I ended up doing all of them in March. And then in April, I was like, all right, you still get your optional Saturdays, but see how many you can do. From April was May, which was the new year of journals. And I just decided at that point, I'm like, I want to, just like with my walks, I want to have 365 walks. I want to actually be able to say, I journaled every single day this calendar year. Yeah. And I don't know what will happen at the end of the year. Maybe at the end of the year, I say, you know what, back to Saturday optionals. Maybe the journals that I buy these small moleskin ones. or mole. I forgot what they're called. Maybe they don't sell them anymore, and the new one I buy is bigger. So I like go, oh, you don't have to fill out one page, or I just change the size of my entries or whatever.
Yep.
But I find a way to like adapt or build. But I do have, so like I will give myself that leniency, like you said, whether it's the 365 to the 360, if I know I'm doing it for me, with the right intention. Like I'm giving my Saturdays off to give myself, I'm starting this whole new regimen, this whole new thing. It's not going to immediately become a habit, and it's not going to turn into a lifestyle. And if I don't give it a chance, it's adding a lot to my every single day. So, all right, give myself some leniency to allow me to get to a point where I don't need that leniency anymore. Right. So
it's interesting. Like I've just been having this conversation more and more, and I'm trying to gather more perspectives because one of the girls that I coach, she's a good friend of mine. She'll listen to this podcast, I'm sure. And like she has this big, huge morning routine, right? Where it's become, she gets up at 3:30 in the morning just to do her morning routine because it takes her like 4 hours to do. Mm-hmm. She gets...
That can be excessive.
Yeah. And so coaching someone through that is just so interesting because I'm not giving someone advice, and I'm not saying that one thing is right or wrong, but if you're coming to me with this problem, then why are you so attached to this morning routine? And that's what I'm trying to figure it out. And that's what I was more just curious with you. I'm not saying that one is right versus wrong, but I'm trying to figure out what makes it in your head say that you need to do this every single day versus someone that says, okay, I can do 360 versus 365. That's where I was going with it,
So with that client, have you tried like leaning into it? Like
we've explored it a little bit, and it's gotten better. Just like I've explained with a lot of the work that I do, it's a lot of those subconscious beliefs, and I'm not going to dive into like exactly like what she believes, but just in terms of why is she so attached to this and creating a meaning behind it where she feels off for the entire day if she doesn't do every single thing on her morning routine, or where is all this time actually going? And we just trace it back, instead of just trying to put some type of Band-Aid and me just saying, oh, well, just get up at 4:30 and blah, 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 blah. Like, no, like let's explore it and let's see when it started. Let's see why it started. Let's see why it's important to you. Those are what I'm exploring, because a lot of what we believe is just when we attach a meaning to something, because if there was no meaning to it, it's not going to matter to us. So if you can find the meaning to it, you can change the meaning, or you can figure out how the meaning was created.
I'd be curious to know, because I can kind of like connect with it with your client.
Yeah.
How many of them were the originals of her routine?
Like when she first started? They've been built up.
That's what I'm saying. Yep. So as you're backtracking to try to find the root cause, there are some, and especially if she has the similar like OCD or whatever's going on in my brain, where it's like I have to do these things.
Yeah,
I would be willing to bet that there are 3 to 4, or I would say, let's be a little more, because I don't know how many things that she does. Let's say like 25% of them are things that she cannot compromise on. In the same way, like I cannot compromise on my journal.
Yeah.
And then there's so many other things that, like, maybe doing her makeup is one of the ones that she cannot compromise on. Yeah. It's what she needs to feel confident to go out.
They were more personal growth related, but continue.
Either way, and I'm just speaking on this example. This not metaphor. What is this called when you're just making up something? Either way,
whatever.
Making up a story. Either way,
an example.
So she's been always doing her makeup, and then she got a little older, and then she bought her first like hair curler or whatever. Now she curls her hair every day.
Yep.
The makeup is one of the things that she has meaning for and actually has to do.
Yeah.
And the hair is just connected to the makeup. So she thinks, oh, if I do my makeup, I have to do my hair.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to like figure out the root causes of every single one. Some of them might not have a root cause. It's just because, when I, do my makeup, I brush my teeth. Like those two go hand in hand. It's like, well, they don't have to.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do the makeup and then brush your teeth might have been maybe floss.
Yeah.
Brush and floss.
Yeah.
Maybe you just associate the two, but they don't have to both be part of that routine.
Yeah.
Like you can brush your teeth every morning, but maybe you just carry around a pack of floss.
Yeah.
And you floss on your way to work. Or I don't know, some people are like really grossed out by like where you're allowed to floss. Where are you allowed to floss?
I don't know.
Do we get to the bottom of this on Growth by Shawn, or does this not matter?
Like where you're allowed to floss? I feel like you
can floss on an airplane?
Sure.
I would be a little gross. If the person sitting next to me is flossing. Yeah.
What if they just ate?
I'm talking like literally popping it out.
Okay, where's it going? Like, is it flying onto you?
Yeah,
like,
that part of dude.
Okay.
What about? All right. What about?
What do you mean? Like, where?
Can they floss if they're a passenger in your car?
I guess so. Yeah.
Where is it going? It's going in your car.
What do you mean? Don't you just like when you floss? Like, what do you mean? Like, you have like what are you using for floss? Like a pick or like a little toothpick thing? Or
no,
like
the plastic ones that have the little like piece of floss, and then it also can be a toothpick.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, just that.
Okay. All right.
But I don't know. Some people find it really gross.
So when you floss, you're like popping it out and like trying to get food to just
not necessarily, but like you're taking something, you're putting it in your mouth, and then you're taking it out.
Okay.
Just in the top, like yes, if for the human eye, like it looks like everything stays on that brush. Okay. But each time you go like this, like pieces or particles are falling off into your car.
So if I was eating a lollipop right now and I just kept putting it in and out of my mouth, would that be the same thing?
Oh, okay. All right. You might have me there.
Is that not the same?
Yeah, but I don't allow people to have lollipops around me. That's just a big rule. That's a boundary for me. They're nasty.
Okay, you made that up.
Only toddlers. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I know. I guess you got me on that one.
Yeah, so I don't see a problem with like flossing. I'm honestly not a big teeth brusher.
What about what about like clipping your nails? Like there's a place to clip your nails.
Well, I don't think the everyday person is coming into my passenger seat and going and clipping their nails.
Yeah, but like some people like fidgety, like with their fidget, they're like, how obviously some people have oral fixation, so they need like a toothpick or a cigarette or whatever, like back and forth.
Yeah.
Some people like girls will often groom, like brush their hair. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the girls will, or guys, I've seen guys do this too, like just filing their nails.
I bite my nails like I'm one of those people.
So do you swallow your nails?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, not all people swallow their nails when they bite.
Like, I feel like I bite like the outside though.
Yeah, but it's just like your little grooming thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if a girl's like brushing her hair,
yep.
Not all the hair stays in the brush or on your head.
Okay.
Like hair is going, so like in a public plane,
yep.
I don't want someone grooming next to me.
You don't want someone brushing their hair next to you?
No.
What if you
okay, I don't mind if like, oh crap, I was on my head the whole plane ride and we just landed and I just want to brush it to make it look good and then go. I'm talking like the like using it as like a fidget, like a you're doing the whole group. You're just brushing your hair just to brush your hair, or you're just filing your nails in a public area. Like, I don't know.
So what if
I think you're gonna get a little more pushback than you think on this one.
Okay, I don't really think it matters to me. Like that's the thing. Like so. If we were sitting next to each other on an airplane, and you just ran your hand through your hair real quick,
that's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine.
But hair is still coming off of your head.
Sure.
Then what's
the difference? But that's
like
a natural amount.
Okay, versus a hairbrush is an unnatural amount?
If you brush it for 30 minutes straight, yeah, that's an unnatural. Like, do that before you come on the plane.
Okay, but what does it really matter? Like, where is this hair going that it's bothering you?
Oh, it doesn't matter. We were talking a lot about me, and I'm deflecting.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So
I know you're gonna call me out on something very soon.
I wasn't trying to call you out on anything. But how are we doing on time?
45 minutes.
Okay, that's not bad.
51.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we had like plenty of time. Yeah, I can call you out like a little bit more if you want. Like,
let's go deeper.
Let's go with what are your views on your relationship with alcohol right now?
Sure.
Because you've brought drinking up a decent amount of times.
This is one that, like, I've always treated or, like, told myself this is a vice. This is one of my bad vices.
Okay.
And this is going back to how we started this. Like it was our conversation that told me the power, like spells. I think that was what stuck with me the most. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, if I'm always calling it a vice, and every time I, like, you know, I get to the end of a long week, and I let myself drink, even if I, like, fully intend on drinking responsibly, why am I, like, still sometimes getting really drunk and still sometimes, like, drinking on a weekday or like, why is it still like such a bad vice of mine? Yep. And then I started to realize, like, oh, maybe it's not a vice.
Okay.
Maybe I just have to look at it different. Maybe I have to find a different relationship with alcohol. Yep. And I think that's been my recent revelation. I don't know what our relationship is just yet. Mm-hmm. But since even acknowledging that, I actually bought, I'm just going to grab it just to show you. And this might not make sense to a lot of people who don't drink or who don't feel like they binge or have any kind of problem with drinking. Sure. But I would always buy bottles, and then as I got older, like, of different things like whiskey or tequila, I go through all my phases. Whenever I do, I start off like, oh, I bought a new expensive whiskey, $60 bottle of whiskey, and I go, I want to try it. Yeah. So I go and I pour myself a glass, put it some ice, let it dilute a little bit. Sure. I start drinking. I go, wow, this is really good. It's an expensive bottle. I don't want to just drink it really fast. Yep. But I wake up the next morning and half that bottle's gone. Okay. I just, like, and it's just me watching Marvel on Netflix, or on Disney or whatever, just drinking, like, not even paying attention. It's almost like it could, if it was a glass of water, I would drink just as much water. It's just like, you know, I just do the motion. Okay. This one, and the reason why I wanted to, like, talk about it, I bought recently, I wanted to explore gins, and I bought a clear gin as the first time I'm going out and exploring gins. And I really liked the gin, so I was like, all right, I'm going to go and buy another bottle of gin. Well, that was after our podcast, after our conversation. Sure. So I had already started to go, I need a different relationship with my vices. Sure. And then I learned that they're not vices. This is my relationship with alcohol, and this is my relationship with sobriety, and this is my, like, you're allowed to do it when you want to do it, but you're not a bad guy if you have a little too much once or whatever night, and then you can be proud of yourself when you don't have too much, like you have a beer. Yeah. Well, this one, I brought it home, I poured it in a glass, I put the ice, and I brought it up to my, like, as I'm bringing it up to my mouth, I smell it, and it's smoky, and I smell the barrels. I'm like, oh, this is smells so good. I take a sip. It's super sweet. It almost tastes like honey. Okay. And it goes down so amazing. And I, like, take another sip, and I'm like, all right, that's my glass. And I finished that glass, didn't get up, finished the movie, brushed my teeth, and went to bed. Okay. It was one of the first times I ever was able to just, like, have a drink and not have that, like, that little buzz that when my brain usually gets that buzz. And now I don't know if it's, like, the alcohol buzz was creating the thought, or it was the way I think of, like, my relationship with it being a vice, where I go, ooh, this buzz feels good. I want more of this buzz. And that's why I would end up drinking half a bottle of whiskey that was really expensive. Yeah. I didn't get that. So I don't know. It could be placebo. It could be a whole lot of things. But this one, and now I have, like, a huge sentiment towards the Tomcat. Okay. This barrel gin, where I had it on like the last podcast I did on a Saturday. I had 2 glasses because it was like a 2-hour long recording, and I just had it throughout the episode, and then the next night I had a glass, And I didn't even go, like, sometimes I'll, like, have a glass of, like, a whiskey and then go, oh, cool, I have Heineken's in the fridge. I'm not going to drink all my expensive whiskey, but then I'm still drinking more. Like, this is the first time I've really been able to, like, address my situation or my relationship with alcohol while drinking the alcohol. Like, a lot of it is like, all right, like the binary where I go, I always do sober October.
Yep.
And over the past like 2 years, I always do like sober March too. I like to give myself 2 months. So I'll always do sober October. It's so easy. I just don't, like, my relationship is none this month. And then, my relationship is when you want it. Yeah. Long day is fine, whatever. Like, but then I wasn't actually thinking about it when I'm drinking it. So, like, again, I don't know if it was this actual drink or our conversation. It's probably more likely, like, both in some degree of, like not a 50-50 split one way or the other. But, like, now I just, like, appreciate this relationship that I have with alcohol.
Cool. Interesting. Good for you. I think it's just like we were saying earlier, it's all about just the meaning that you have decided to define for it. You know, you changed the meaning behind it, which is how the relationship changed. Normally, so as we're winding down here, though, normally I have a question from the last guest.
Oh, sure.
I haven't been home, and so I don't have the question from the last guest. So I'm going to create my own last question here. I think that it would be fun. So what is the biggest limiting belief that you have, all right, that's holding you back right now?
What's holding me back?
I think, I guess that could be a two-part question. So, yeah, what do you think is holding you back right now from getting to be where you want to be?
Patience.
Okay. Why do you think it's patience?
Because I put a lot of weight on my shoulders about what I'm doing. Am I doing enough? Okay. Am I doing things with the value that I should be putting into it? Or am I just doing a podcast, just do a podcast? Am I just, taking my girlfriend out just because, like, I don't want to do dishes? Or am I actually, like, I want to spend a valuable night with her? Or, I don't know, am I playing video games just to distract myself? Or do I just need a little me time and I am actually playing video games? So, being patient about, especially, I guess that's almost, it's definitely more so with the content and everything. I kind of teased the project that should be coming out around October.
This won't be out before October, so.
Even better. Yeah. Well, then it better be out by my stuff better be out by then. Where I actually had launched it unsuccessfully, and I just need to keep reminding myself that there's no right time that this goes out. There's no wrong time that this goes out. When it goes out, just be on top of it. But if you're not ready for it, if it was way too much when you first tried it, take it off, game plan, strategize, and relaunch it. And it's not going to do worse. Yeah. It only has the potential of doing better than it did the first time. So being patient and not because every week I'm like, I need to put that out. I have it all ready to go. I need to put it out. I should be putting it out. That's what that's what will allow me to grow. That's how I can take my next step. Why am I not putting it out? I could just start teasing it right. Why am I not? So just trying to remind myself that it's okay. Just be patient. I don't even think it's the patience, because I tend to do pretty well with patience, but it's reminding myself of being patient. Okay. Things will happen.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. I won't go back and forth there. So, but I appreciate you letting us use the studio today. Yeah. And just let us know where we can find you, about the podcast. Go from there.
So you can check out my podcast every Sunday. They drop on YouTube at 1:00. They, for some reason, drop a little earlier on Saturdays if you listen to Apple, Spotify, or any of those listening platforms. It's Ever Changing Vibe. I'm the host, Walie. You can check out the YouTube channel, but I can't really plug it right now because it's kind of under construction. That is part of the project that I am hoping to have out for you guys in October. Yeah, I get in touch if you want to be a guest on the podcast. If you want to connect or collab on some other type of content, I love especially the local area and seeing all the people around us growing and doing well. It gets me way more excited about it. So get in touch. You can reach me on Instagram. It's probably the best place. Just send me a DM. It's Walie_ECV or Ever Changing Vibe podcast on Instagram.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening, and rate us 5 stars. That's it. Sweet. All right. How you
Thanks.
feeling?
Yeah.
No.
Sweet,
Thanks for coming on.